Tonight on the fifth chapter, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross says there will be an NFL football season this fall. In Ann Arbor, the University of Michigan's president says students must be on campus in order to have a Wolverine football season. Dennis and Brian react. With no fans expected at games, are virtual fans with piped-in crowd noise the way to go for stadiums and telecasts during the pandemic? And Matthew Stafford puts his Bloomfield Hills mansion up for sale. Could 2020 be the last dance for number 9 in Detroit? Join the conversation by sending your tweet to @DennisFithian and @BChapSports. This is the fifth chapter with Dennis Fithian and Brian Chapman.
He represents the mitten by way of Penn State. When Chapman gets to talking sports, but people can't wait. He represents the mitten. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall. And his veins bleeding blue. They got respect around the state. When that light turns red, so don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for and sit back for the fifth chapter. Brian Chapman. Dennis Fithian. When they open their mouths, they spit in the facts, bro. This ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast or download it to your phone to peep the podcast. They mix laughter, they get after. It's all captured in the fifth chapter.
That's right, and we are live. I'm Brian Chapman. He is Dennis Fithian. Welcome to the fifth chapter. Thank you guys for joining us. What's up, Dennis?
Hey, it's the fifth show of the fifth chapter. That's got to mean something.
That's right. 5 to go, or 5 down, maybe 500, maybe 5,000 to go. Who knows? As for today's show, let's put up today's book and let everyone know what we have coming forward on the show. In the second chapter, virtual fans, pumped-in crowd noise. We can see it in Korea. Should we expect that here in the States when we resume sports? In the third chapter, we saw the match have monster ratings over the weekend. 2 football legends, 2 golf legends. Did you watch? Will you watch more of that? In the fourth chapter, could this be the last dance for Matt Stafford now that his house is on the market? And in the fifth chapter, it's game time. Dennis and I will play Man, Woman, or Child. We were supposed to play it last week. Dennis threw me a curveball. This week, I'm guaranteeing that we will play Man, Woman, or Child. I want to thank everybody out there, though, who is watching tonight's broadcast on YouTube, listening to the podcast on Apple iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. Make sure that you like, make sure that you subscribe, and you can participate in each show by sending your tweets to @DennisFithian, @BChapSports, or commenting right there on the side during the live stream. Let's start out, though, with the first chapter, Dennis. It is May 26th, 2020. We haven't had any live sports in college or pro for over 2 months now, and it's certainly getting old, it's certainly getting tiresome, and we're all wondering what sports is going to look like when it returns. These various leagues are going out of their way to try to figure out what will happen when it comes back. Everybody's got a plan. Major League Baseball is still involved in a rigorous debate about money. You got NBA beginning their workout soon, and you got the NHL putting out their plan, and that is to start the playoffs immediately with 24 teams, and you're going to have 7 teams, including the Red Wings, which will not be in the playoffs. Their season would be effectively over. Perhaps we'll get into that on Thursday's show. As for the NFL, Dolphins owner Stephen Ross was on CNBC earlier today, and here's what he had to say.
Well, I think there definitely will be a football season this year. The real question is, will there be fans in the state? I think right now...
And apologize, the audio isn't working for Stephen Ross, but I can tell you that Ross said that there's a 100% chance that there will be college football, or that there will be NFL football this fall. In addition, Joe Klatt from FS1 spoke out on the return of college football, and he put up a tweet, and I'll put that tweet up on the screen so you can see it. And he says, some CFB thoughts, the 2020 season is 100% happening. The fans will be in the stands to some capacity at most locations. The season will likely start on time. And then we have from Sports Illustrated, and actually this is via the Wall Street Journal, Mark Schlissel, the president of the University of Michigan, said if there is no on-campus instruction, then there won't be intercollegiate athletics, at least for Michigan. And he said some degree of doubt as to whether there will be college athletics anywhere, at least in the fall. So, Dennis, you got three individuals who are in the know, one an NFL team owner, one of them a college football analyst, and then you've got a third who is a school president weighing in on the state of college sports and the NFL. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen with football?
Well, I think you have to go back and look at all three of those guys' backgrounds to kind of look at it. When you go to Stephen Ross, a businessman, and the state he's located in Florida, man, if it was up to Florida, everything would have been open the whole time. And it would be let's go and see what happens. And, the Dolphins a month ago had already put out a plan about how they could bring fans into their stadium. So there's no surprise there that Stephen Ross, and I agree. I think the NFL owners, with the amount of money that's at stake there, and if they can just get out there and play ball and make some money, yeah, they want to do that. So I can understand his optimism. Joel Klatt, too, talking about 100%, guarantees and everything. All right, but, I've listened to Joel Klatt over the last month or so. He's always talking about just how much respect he has for the doctors and for researchers and scientists. And he's always like, hey, we're USA, and we're going to get it done because we just have all of these great scientists. And, he's got great optimism. And, again, college football, depending on what state you're in, I feel pretty good about what Ross is saying. When it starts getting down to Klatt and 100%, yeah, what do you mean 100%, Klatt? Where's your money? Like, I hope he's right. I think, we all do. But when it comes down to the Schlissel, he's taking the other side, and his background is in immunity. That's how he's made this.
He's an immunologist.
Yeah, there you go. So, out of those three, a guy that's, kind of tabling it and saying, let's see, and, has a degree of doubt. I get that. People don't want to have a degree of doubt right now. They want to hear something about 100%. They want to hear that football's on. All of these plans, these are not even baby steps. Like they're so crawling right now. Sure, I hope it all happens. I hope the people that are gung-ho, it all works. But I understand the skepticism there. I'm skeptical myself.
Yeah, I think there is absolutely no certainty whatsoever. I think having these plans that the sports leagues have to reopen are great. Only one sport really has executed it, and that's the UFC, where they have the 3 fights in Jacksonville, and I guess they're going to have a fight island or something like that. But, having plans once the games begin, I think are great, and they're planning for that. Negotiating how much money they should make, which is what's happening in baseball, that makes sense. Talking about whether the fans should be there, how many fans should be there, that makes sense. But there's no certainty because it all depends on the virus. If the NFL comes out on July 1st and says no fans in the stands, but by August 15th, there hasn't been a single documented case of coronavirus in the United States of America in 3 weeks, they should probably change course and allow fans, maybe even all fans, into the stands. But if they say no fans in the stands, but by August 15th, we have a second wave in the U.S., and all 32 teams have multiple players with the Rona, you got 3,000, 4,000 Americans dying each day, then there's not going to be a 100% chance of college football in the fall. It'll be a 0% chance. There's not going to be, we'll just play without fans in the stands. They're not going to play at all. And like you mentioned, you got different states with different rules. If in California they continue to say we're not going to have any sporting events here, that screws things up. There's so much uncertainty with regard to the virus. The plans are good, but we're still way far away, especially when it comes to football. Baseball, we could be 5-6 weeks away from starting. Basketball and hockey in a similar situation. But football, to talk about 100%, that's 100% bogus.
Yeah, well, give it up to Klatt. If he would have put out a tweet that said, I'm 71% sure that we'll have football, that doesn't we're probably not sitting here talking about him throwing the old 100% guarantee out there. And the one thing that both college and pro football have, all of those sports that you just mentioned, we're going to see them go through and see how it works. So football really doesn't have to say anything right now, as they can just sit back and wait. I listened to a podcast with Pete Carroll, the Seahawks head coach, this week, and he was saying that up until now, the season is pretty much their off season, the phase one, where they're really just in meeting rooms and with the offense and the defense. They have not, even if it was a regular non-pandemic type off season, that they would just now be hitting the practice field. So they're not behind at all.
Yeah.
Starting right now, they're going to get behind the sticks that way. So for football here, all along they've had really a luxury when it comes down to this. So
they've been affected the least because the other seasons have already missed games. Basketball and football had to stop. Baseball hasn't been able to start. So I mean, I've got no issue with them making those comments, but you're right. I mean, outside of OTAs and rookie mini camps and mini camps, they're not really missing anything. They're certainly not missing games. And when it comes to the money part, losing money, NFL football might not lose. I mean, they're going to lose money if they're not having fans in the stands. But in terms of TV money, they might not lose a dime. College football might not lose a dime. But going back to what Schlissel said, I mean, there's going to be, I think, a big variance from state to state, from conference to conference, and from school to school. And when he talks about no students on campus or no students in class means no football games, I believe that. If the health experts, the epidemiologists, the immunologists, and every other allergist says that it's not a good idea to have students in class, I can't imagine that it would be a good look for any school to say, okay, don't come to class, but we're going to have over 100 student athletes practice all week, travel, play all week, and do so in front of an empty stadium. That would not be a good look, and I think that there could be a lot of disruption in college football this fall if we see something like that, where one school, even in one conference, says, we don't have students in class, therefore no games, and it affects the whole rest of college, everything else in college football.
Yeah, we're sitting here, we're doing the same thing every week. Like, are they going to play? Are they not going to play? What do you think? Maybe. How the money's at stake? How can we protect people? I saw a story just before we came on. Like the state of Indiana, Purdue's like, the Purdue and Indiana University, they are planning on having classes in the fall. Hey, well, that's great. I mean, they're planning on it. It's the same thing. Like, that's like you could be reserved. You could be out there saying, hey, we're planning on it. But until the rubber hits the road where you actually have to, get to class or make those schedules and present it. Like if I was going to Purdue, it's like, so, okay, we're going to have class. How's that going to look? Like this. We've got a lot of time to fill, and everybody wants answers, and nobody's saying anything for sure. So Joe Klatt can say something. You could come out here and say there's a 0% chance, and none of that stuff matters. We got to just play it out day by day here and see how it's going to go. But that's what we're doing.
Well, and think about this possibility. Everyone is concerned about a second wave. I've heard some experts say we might not be done with the first wave, but let's say it continues to calm down. We're way under 2,000 deaths a week, which is where we were about 2 weeks ago. What if the first wave ends and then during the middle of the football season, the second wave starts? And let's say it starts in Indiana, or there's a big spike in Indiana, particularly in the Bloomington area, and Michigan football or Michigan State football has to travel down there. A couple of days before the game, maybe they cancel all classes. That game would be canceled. Maybe the team that played there the week before would have to self-quarantine everybody on the team, and they might have to cancel games for the next couple of weeks. 100% it's a crazy number to be throwing out at this point.
No doubt. And just like Schlissel, like people didn't want to hear let's just wait, expressing pessimism about or a degree of doubt like he did. People like, he's scared. It's like, wait a second.
Scared?
Yeah, well, he might be just because he's got a degree of doubt that there's going to be classes or they're going to be athletics.
Think about where we were on Valentine's Day. We heard about some stuff is going on in China, and there's a nursing home in Washington State. This is pretty sad, but hey, let's go see the Red Wings lose tonight. Or I can't wait to see Cassius Winston go off for 25 points or something. We weren't thinking about that taking over the entire country. About a month later, sports ended, and we haven't had it since. So we don't know what's going to happen. Today is May 26th. We don't know what's going to happen on June 26th. Are we going to be a couple of weeks away from the start of baseball, 2-3 weeks away from basketball and hockey, and a month away from the start of football practice? Or is it going to be worse or better? Nobody knows, because just look at where we were in mid-February.
Yeah, well, let's get to this second chapter, which is speculation. You have to meet us halfway that maybe there will be games. Maybe there will be NHL playoffs. Maybe there will be NBA playoffs. Maybe we'll have Major League Baseball. Somehow they come, past this impasse and actually play out there. But what if the games are played and there are no fans, and these sports end up generating things in the stands to make it look like people are there? And what if they're piping in music? Joe Buck went on Sirius XM Andy Radio, and he said that this is going to be a reality.
Difficult. I think Fox and these networks have to put crowd noise under us to make it as normal a viewing experience at home.
You think they'll do that?
I do. Yeah, I think they'll do it. I know. In fact, I know they'll do it. And they are to the point now
that's
where
the conversation right now.
It's pretty much a done deal. I think whoever's going to be at that control is going to have to be really good at their job and be realistic with how a crowd would react depending on what just happened on the field. So it's really important. And then on top of that, they're going to put they're looking at ways to put virtual fans in the stands. So when you see a wide shot, it looks like the stadium's jam-packed, and in fact, it'll be empty.
That's wild. I was going to say.
Yeah, so there you go. Virtual fans in the stands. That's something that I haven't heard of before, Dennis.
A couple of years ago, I saw the old Oakland A's where they now they put a tarp over the entire upper deck, but back in the day they were using like a checkerboard type situation where if you looked from the field, you looked up there, it was like it kind of looked like, hey, there's kind of scattered fans up there. And I remember retweeting with a comment Tom Gorris and put the eyeballs like, ooh, look at that. Like maybe he would like something like that. And we know that the Red Wings, they at the Little Caesars Arena, they tore out those bright red seats because nobody was coming to the Piston games, and it was like a big glare.
A big eyesore.
It was. Can they turn out all of the lights and just make, one of these sports, basketball could be the one. It would be great if they could get an arena where they could get and really work on it, where you could just have the lights and you could, dark, keep everything else dark. You don't need any lights anywhere else. And you could really have it's going to be a unique type situation anyways. I don't think you need to trick up the stands and gimmick that stuff up. Now, there's going to be some sight lines there where you're going to see that there's going to be nobody in there. Are you going to go out there and put like dummies in the stands and scarecrows and things like that and put it in? Well, I don't know. What was it? The Korean League, they ordered up a bunch of dolls and ended up being like sex dolls or blow up dolls or something. I don't know.
I didn't hear about that. I know in the Thai League they have like these, I guess they're like strips of plastic or whatever that they just have go through an entire row, and at each seat there's a picture of a fan with a mask on their face. So I guess it kind of looks like maybe there are some fans there.
Put cutouts on the seats or something like that.
Like, when I think about this, in terms of the pictures of fans and cardboard cutouts, I think that would just be a joke. I mean, imagine somebody like Andre Drummond, who's now the Cavs, diving into the front row, and a fan would be, 5 fans would be crumbled and crushed. Not figuratively, like, ow, that hurts. Like, they'd be destroyed because they're cardboard cutout fans. That wouldn't be a good look. And having fans, like, if somebody hits a home run, are they going to have some machine to shake the fans to make it look like they're really exciting? They're going to pipe in the crowd noise. That's what they're going to do. You're going to be on the button. You heard Buck say it. Like, somebody has to be pretty good at it. I hope they have a boo button, too. No, I think that's a great idea. In the KBO, they have crowd noise, and that's one of the first things I noticed, is they have ambient crowd noise. But and that's a whole lot better, because I thought that it was just going to be dead silence. The ambient crowd noise is good. The one thing I would like to see is for there to be changes in the way the crowd reacts, because right now in the KBO, Korean Baseball Organization, if somebody hits a home run it's still the same ambient crowd noise as if they're just waiting for the pitch to come. If somebody gets a strikeout, they turn a double play. If there's a great diving catch in center field, they don't have that. But it would make sense if at the home team's ballpark, they would have, maybe 15 or 20 different cheers that somebody working in a booth could organize, so that when there's a diving catch, you could hear the crowd cheer. When somebody hits a home run, you could hear the crowd go into an elongated cheer. Just like if it's a Tigers game, pipe in the audio from a Miguel Cabrera home run from last year and then play that as he's rounding the bases. That's something that I think could be done. When he starts talking about virtual fans and using, CGI or whatever to make it look like there's fans in the background when they show what would be the crowd in the background, I'd have to see that before I believe that's a good idea.
Yeah, you want to make it look real lifelike. When the Tigers have opening day, you're going to be like, oh, wait a second, here comes a drunk fan. He's running out on the field here and have somebody out there. They never cut to that anyways, but yeah, look, it's good that they're going to try some things here, but that sounds like a recipe for disaster. Can't you darken the seats there, put the lights out on the court? Madison Square Garden's like that. If you ever look, you can't really see beyond the first couple rows anyways. Mm-hmm. There's two things I think about. I watch a lot. I don't know about a lot. I watched the Summer League a couple years ago when they were down in Orlando. It looked like an LA Fitness gym. Yeah. Like there's not even, 5 feet off the baselines anywhere. So, they got a glass partition. There wasn't any room for anybody to sit down anyways. I still enjoyed the basketball. And you know what? Some of the greatest footage of The Last Dance is when the Dream Team was practicing in that, what a high school gym or whatever. There was absolutely nobody in the stands, but it was the action out on the floor. Do we really need to have to look up, that have some kind of cutout up there or have some cheers? Mic up the players. Do something different that way.
A cutout of a fan is not going to motivate a player. Like if LeBron James posterizes, Rudy Gobert in the NBA Finals, I guess the Western Conference Finals, that's not going to ramp him up if he sees a cardboard cutout going like this, shaking left and right or bouncing up and down. But if he dunks on someone or somebody hits a big-time three, James Harden hits a big-time three-point shot, and then you hear the crowd cheering, even though he knows it's not real, that's more likely to motivate him. That's more likely to excite him. It's not going to be the same thing as if there's a packed arena in Houston doing it and he can see the fans doing it. But if he can hear a deafening cheer, if he can hear defense in the background, not just the PA announcer, not just what's going over the PA's system, but also some fan noise saying defense, that might actually work. But a cardboard cutout, that's going to do 0% to an athlete.
Yeah, are they going to do it where it's actually sound in the arena, or are they going to do it just for the viewers that are watching there? We don't know that.
Because Fox, when Joe Buck was talking, he was making it seem as if it was just for the fans watching at home. He said that Fox is going to have some crowd noise piped in. He didn't say the stadiums. He said Fox's. And I think you might as well just go with the arenas doing it. I think that all arenas should be forced to do it in all these leagues. But if you want to make it as realistic as possible, have it come from the stadium so that the athletes can be affected by the crowd noise, not just the fans hearing this TV production.
Yeah, you're going to have the intros with all the, buzzers and everything, but you can't high five. You just got to come out and be introduced there. That'll be interesting to see if they do that. The other thing, if it was in the stadium and there's no fans in there, how's it really going to sound? These NBA games where it's dun, 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 it's going to be echoing and blasting off on these arenas here, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully these are the things that we are able to argue about and have some opinions about, that it actually gets going. But, they do have a unique opportunity here. They could get creative, try some different things, but be ready to scrap it and move on. If it's an embarrassment, that would be my advice.
Hey, they might have preseason games where they can try it out. Let's turn the page now to the third chapter. And in the third chapter over the weekend, look, we know we haven't had a whole lot in terms of sports to watch. There haven't been really any big events unless you're a fan of the UFC. But this weekend, not only did you get a new ESPN docu-series, it's a two-part series called Lance, which I actually liked, to replace The Last Dance. But on Sunday, Turner Sports decided to see if they could capitalize on these starving sports fans by creating and televising The Match, which was a charity golf event. It featured Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson against Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods. And the Manning and Woods duo won, but the biggest moment of the day belonged to Tom Brady. Boom! Drilled that birdie right there from the fairway.
That's all you need in golf, man. One good shot, and it does it for your day. Yeah, Tom Brady did not look like, he had this swing that made him an 8 handicap or anything else that seemed a little inflated. But, overall, it was a really nice presentation. They did a good job. They needed a bunch of things to go right for them, and the rain did not go well for them. But, man, the guys, they were very comfortable. They were informative. Man, I love Phil Mickelson going around and giving Tom Brady pointers on his round. I mean, just watching that was cool, as a golf fan. And, Peyton Manning could have livened it up. He could have had so many more jokes there with Tom Brady. But, man, Tiger Woods looked sharp. It was his home course. But the announcers were good with Barkley and the other guys there. They knew how to let it breathe, which, that is something with the different cameras. They had to go from hole to hole. I think we need to see more of these. This came out and was
So you're a big fan of this.
Yeah, I thought it was it was good TV, and it was very entertaining, and I think they should do more of this. The ratings were great, and it was entertaining.
Yeah, and actually, I'll put the ratings up there on the screen so everybody can see. In this article from Yahoo Sports, it says Tom Brady has edged Michael Jordan, it appears. Sunday's The Match champions for charity golf match pitting Brady and Mickelson against Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods averaged 5.8 million TV viewers across all these Turner networks. And it also says it makes Sunday's event the most watched golf telecast in cable television history and the highest rated program on TV that day. Their peak viewership was at 6.3 million. Obviously, they raised $20 million for coronavirus relief. Look, I guess I was one of the few who did not watch it. I heard that it was coming on. I know that it was one of the few live sporting events that we've had since the pandemic started. But I didn't watch. I don't really regret not watching. Having 4 big names in sports is nice, particularly having 2 big names in golf. Having Barkley as a commentator, I thought if you're going to get people to listen, why not have the Chuckster in there? But it just wasn't enough because for me, watching celebrities play sports is not a big draw. Like when it comes to NBA All-Star Weekend, because there's nothing going on, I might watch 10 minutes of the game at most, but usually I don't watch any of it. When it comes to Major League Baseball All-Star Week, I watch about 20 minutes of the celebrity softball game, but that's usually only because it's on right after the home run derby. If it was not on right after the home run derby, I probably wouldn't watch a second of it. And, for this event, I've been without sports for a month or 2 months outside of the UFC and still didn't watch. And I don't know that I would watch a rematch.
What if it was James Franklin and Saquon Barkley playing with Tiger and Phil?
I mean, even Penn State legends. I don't know if that would be like if you're trying to get me to watch, I would need like some hilarious celebrity golfers who were terrible like me. Like when I play
Barkley?
golf, yeah, perhaps somebody like Barkley. I mean, I don't know what he shoots on 18 holes, but I struggle to break 100. If you could bring some guys in there that would struggle to break 100, and we could see them duffing it off the tee, struggling to hit the ball past the ladies' tee, slicing it into the other fairway, and if they had guys that didn't act like typical golfers. I mean, I didn't watch this, but Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, they act like typical country club golfers. People rip on Tiger because he curses a little bit. But if they had guys that really cursed, really got angry, they argued with each other. If they had like a Tiger Woods versus 4 terrible celebrities and they were arguing with each other, you get like Ronnie from the Jersey Shore. You get a stupid Real Housewife. You get Kanye West. I mean, you just get some really crazy Gordon Ramsay to curse out the housewife or something like that. all on one team and make it like a reality TV show, maybe I'd watch that. But the best part about it was they raised money. The Tom Brady shot was nice. The highlight was nice. I can't see myself watching a match too.
No, there might be something for everybody. Your idea about getting some average golfers or some entertaining golfers or some, guys that are out there maybe, got a cooler in the back and, are throwing down a couple beers, a couple holes behind the real golfers. One thing about golf fans, though, if you like Bill Murray, like when he goes out there and jokes around, man, they get ticked off, man. They don't like that bastardizing the game. It's so unbecoming. So, yeah, I don't know if they would do that if they would put another group in there that wasn't, all about, just the etiquette of golf. It's such a big thing, but it is something to think about. Good idea.
Yeah, I mean,
Good idea,
obviously it worked out for a lot of people because the ratings were so high. I mean, in terms of watching golf, I don't watch a whole lot. I watch the Masters, and I'll usually watch the majors on Sunday, and I might watch on Saturday if Tiger Woods is in the hunt to win it. But other than that, I don't watch a whole lot of golf. So they would need to do something extreme to get me to watch. But certainly what they did on Sunday worked if it was the most watched television program in the country that day.
Yeah, this programming reminder, we're getting a lot on our live chat, and coming up in the 5th chapter, before we get to our series of either ors, we'll read some of those feedbacks there. So you can always go over there in the live chat. I see Jacob has sent a number of them. Somebody asking you, Sideshow Raj asking you a question. We'll get to some of those coming up in the 5th chapter. Right now, it's time for the 4th chapter as we turn the page and we get to Lions quarterback Matt Stafford, who you will see and you probably have heard. Maybe you didn't see the pictures, though, of Matt Stafford putting up his house for sale. And Chapman sent me a text saying, the Staffords putting their house up for sale. Is this a sign that this is the last season for Matt Stafford in Detroit? I know you put that free article up so we can take a look at that. What do you think, Chap? Is this a sign that this could be the last season for Matt Stafford?
Well, let's take a look at that article first. And in the article, it has obviously some stunning views of the Stafford house with their infinity pool, which is the biggest in the state of Michigan. The house is worth $6.5 million, at least that's what they're trying to sell it for. But here's a quote from Kelly Stafford. It's from her Instagram, and she says, "We're about to have our 4th child, and I personally do not want to live on a lake or have a pool with 4 children under the age of a little over 3. So that's the reason that it's on the market." And I look at that comment, and I just think it's BS. I think she's, I don't know if you want to say lying or covering up or what, but I think it's 100% BS. I think there's a 65% chance that the Matthew Stafford family is gone after this season because of what I see with them putting this house on the market and other reasons. I got 4 reasons. First, there were all these rumors about Stafford possibly wanting to be on the trade block or forcing his way out this offseason, going back to the combine. He's still on the team, but maybe he still wants out. Number 2, if all these ex-Lions don't like Matt Patricia, isn't there a chance, maybe even a good chance, that Stafford also doesn't like Matt Patricia? Number 3, the Lions are going to suck again in 2020. I know you disagree with that. You have them going 9-7 as you polish off your same old Lions Rory tattoo or whatever, but they're going to suck again in 2020. All right? And Stafford, is he going to want to come back in 2021 to go into year 4 of Patricia after 3 straight losing seasons? And if Patricia is gone, is he going to want to go into another rebuild at age 33? And then 4th and most importantly, the house is for sale. Look at 2 other franchise quarterbacks and what they did before leaving. Last offseason, Tom Brady put his house up for sale. People speculated he bolted after the season. Phillip Rivers, a long-time San Diego and Los Angeles Charger, put up his house for sale before last season. People speculated he bolted. Now what's the Stafford family doing? Putting their house up for sale. And using a lame excuse like, oh, we've got some children and we don't want them to be around a lake. I can't imagine the Stafford family is the only family on that lake or on any lake in Michigan that has toddlers. It's BS. They want out.
Well, I will buy your reason number 3. Like the Lions could be really bad, and then, but you know what? Stafford's never shown any indication that that he's unhappy here, unhappy with the coaching staff, or that he's trying to force a trade. It's been the exact opposite with him. He's been nothing but the model player that you want. That's why the Fords love him so much. That's why I could see him playing here till he's 40 years old. But the number 3 there, when you're blowing out potentially your general manager and your head coach, and if you are bringing somebody else in, that could be the point where they just say, look, this is now 12 seasons. This is theoretically that if it doesn't work out, and they could be looking to move on. Plus that cap number, the last 2 years, you couldn't do it because of the cap number. Now after this season, that's the biggest one where it does become palatable, where you could move him. So there could be that possibility. The thing about Kelly Stafford is I follow her on Instagram. She always has her kids up there. She's always, she's putting up videos left and right every day. I'll take her at her word that she wants to move. Maybe they'll move out into the woods in Clarkston where there's no lakes or something around. But, I'll take her at her word there. Now, if they don't buy a house and they just move into an apartment right by Ford Field, that could be a pretty good indication like, whoa. So I'll reserve the chance to come circle back around and say, you know what, Chapman, you might have been right.
Well, look, I have some close friends who live on Wolverine Lake, which is also in Oakland County. They've got a nice house. It's right on the lake. They got a boat, and they have 2 children under the age of 3. They just had their second child last spring. They didn't say, uh-oh, we've got young kids. It's time to run away from this house. They bought their house, I want to say like 7 to 10 years ago when they moved to Michigan. They didn't say, uh-oh, look, I get that you would want to be concerned about your kids wandering into the lake and drowning, which is obviously why you get your kids swimming lessons and obviously why you watch your children at all times. And they've also got the Staffords also have that monster infinity pool. But if my friends aren't moving away, if there are other families in my friend's neighborhood on that lake that aren't moving away that have kids that young, I have to assume that the Staffords aren't the only people in the state of Michigan or in the world with toddlers under that age. It just seems like a phony reason to want to sell a house that they just renovated 4 years ago. I mean, they put all that time and energy and money's nothing to them, to renovating that house in 2016, and now, oh, we've got some kids. Like, we didn't expect to have any kids, and now you're going to move out? They want to move out because of football. I say 65% chance that they're out.
I respect, Kelly's response there. I don't think that she's got some ruse here for everybody trying to, put some
me.
trying to run an end around Detroit fans. We'll see about that. I'm just going to respect her, her answer there and why that, she wants to move and until, proven otherwise, I'm gonna buy it. But we did ask, and we do this on Twitter. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I put out a video. Today it was blazing hot. I could see, man, my face looks like it's like 5 shades of red right now. No, I'm not holding my breath, as somebody wrote on the live chat. It's just a sunburn. But we did have Raj that sent in a video, and you could do this as well out there. We will play it on the show, and it is about Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I do think things are coming to an end for Matthew Stafford. You can easily make the case that this is going to be his last year starting. Even if Stafford's still under contract at that point, you can still shop him or just keep him and let him be a bridge guy until that guy is ready. But the writing's on the wall. He's going into his 12th season, never won a playoff game, never won a division. Matthew Stafford will never win a Super Bowl with the Lions. So, I mean, he sold his house already. It just seems like the writing's on the wall. It's time to move on.
And there you go, finishing it with, it's time to move on. Well, and real quick, just a fact check, he hasn't sold his house yet. He's trying to sell his house. He and Kelly are trying to sell the house, but they haven't sold it yet. But, I mean, he brings up a lot of things that Stafford critics bring up all the time. hasn't won a playoff game, hasn't won a division, things like that. Been there for a while. And look, I have to imagine that that's eating away at him, even though when he steps up to the microphone all the time, it seems like he says, "Oh shucks, it would have been nice to win that game, and of course it hurts," and things like that. But privately, I bet this does eat away at him. And like I said, if he comes back for a 12th season this year, and they're 5-11, maybe they even boost up to 6-10, 7-9. Is he going to want to come back for a 4th losing season under Patricia or a rebuild under another coach? No, he's got the house for sale. He's ready to go.
There's a chance. I mean, he's been here forever. They've given him opportunities here. I'm still not just going to go for the, I know where you're coming from with Brady and with also Rivers here, but you know what? I think the Lions management and I think Matt Stafford, if we were sitting here with Martha Ford and Sheila Hamp and Rod Wood and Matt Stafford and all their families were over, I think they would honestly say, hey, look, we're really hoping that everything gets done this year. We're not having some preventative like, oh, well, we're going to put the house up for sale. We really want it to go well this year, and if it doesn't, we're out of Dodge. I don't think that they're thinking like that. I think that they really are making the move for what they said. Now, if things don't work out because of the cap number, that's going to be the biggest thing, and the possibility of this regime being, moving on. Well, then it could be a real reality, new regime, a cap number that you could work with. That would be real. But we got to wait till you have a season and that it ends up going in the toilet like you expect.
If we're supposed to take Kelly Stafford at her word, that they just want to leave because they live by some water, and that's a big detriment to kids that are under 3. Are they going to come back in the year 2025 and buy another lake house because they say, oh, our kids can swim now, we're not concerned? Like, if this is all about water, they specifically chose this house because it's on the water, and now they want to leave because of the water. Are we supposed to expect, am I supposed to believe that in a few years they're going to move again because they're okay with being on the water? I mean, they wouldn't have to move again because I guess they could just buy another house. I mean, why even sell that house? He's worth like $300 million. Just buy another house and keep that one for when you want to go on a boat.
Well, that's the luxury, man, when, you're a professional athlete, man. If there's one little thing, hey, man, if you don't like one of the trees that's planted out front, you bring in a crew, you paint the whole thing, and, if you don't like the water, you move, So there you go, man. If you're too close to a railroad track and you've got enough money and you want to move, you get out of there. Things change when you have kids, man. Take them at their word for that.
I'm not buying it.
Stafford, I know you're not.
65% chance he's out.
Why don't you be like Joel Klatt and put it at 100% that he's gone?
No, not going to do 100%. But 100% chance we will turn the page to the 5th chapter. And, Dennis, it is game time. And today's game is going to be man, woman, or child. It's similar to when we played Spartan, Buckeye, or Wolverine 2 weeks ago. But this time, I'm going to read you 5 headlines, and you have to guess whether the person is a man, a woman, or a child. And Dennis, here is the first headline. An individual suffered a gunshot wound in an apparent drug deal gone bad.
Man, not a child.
Let me give you another hint. The individual was shot after buying weed with counterfeit money. Was this person who tried to buy weed with counterfeit money a man, a woman, or a child?
Well, I'm eliminating a child buying weed and getting shot. That would be a huge story. I didn't hear about that, so it's coming down. It's gonna be a man or a woman. Is a woman gonna use fake money, counterfeit cash? You know what? I'm going with a man. See, it's right there in front of me. Let's go with the obvious answer. Man.
And just so everybody knows, just to remind Dennis, a child is not necessarily like a 5-year-old. A child is anybody 17 years or younger. But
well, if you'd have told me that, if you'd have told me that they're out in Birmingham and by the water and under 3, I knew it wouldn't have been the Staffords.
But man is your final answer?
Yeah, I'll still go with man.
The answer is child. It was a 16-year-old from Brainerd, Minnesota. The story says investigators believe a group of teenagers purchased marijuana from the house using counterfeit money. When the two suspects involved in the sale discovered they were given counterfeit money, they fired multiple shots at the vehicle as it fled, striking it 2 times and ultimately hitting the girl. So Dennis, 0 for 1.
Yeah, don't use counterfeit money when you're buying drugs.
No, and I actually
you might get a cap. You might get a cap squeezed off. I believe that story.
I believe it too because of what an Uber rider told me earlier this year. Perhaps I'll save that for story time on Thursday. Second headline.
Nice tease.
There you go. Second headline. 3 individuals jailed after senior citizen viciously beaten following vehicle burglary. Dennis, were those individuals men, women, or children?
Well, now I think about, I'm going to go to man or child. Child being under 18. Could I see a bunch of rogue 17-year-olds? And in your terminology here, child. So would you go 2 straight childs, or I'm going to go back to man. Man's the final answer.
Would it change if I told you this happened in Florida?
I mean, so you're trying to get me off my answer? No, I'm
just giving you another hint, or just giving you another detail about the story.
Yeah, well, if it was about going out to the beach and staying and screwing the 6-foot barrier or something like that, I would go with men and women. But no, I'm going with man.
The answer is child or children. The story says 3 teenagers were arrested Sunday after a senior citizen in Ocala was attacked following a vehicle burglary. The story then says the victim told Ocala police officers that he was inside his residence waiting for his daughter to arrive when he heard 2 car doors shut. He said he went outside expecting to greet his daughter when he saw 2 of the teenagers in the front seat of his vehicle. He said he confronted the teens, and at first they ran away, but then they turned and came back at him, a police report states. The victim said both of the teenagers punched and kicked him, and then the story says he suffered a broken jaw and an orbital fracture.
Ouch. This game is stupid. I don't think I've gotten one right, and I think I'm 0 for 8 now.
Yeah, you're
0 for 7.
5. You missed
0 for
the
5.
first. Yeah, you missed all 3 2 weeks ago in Spartan, Wolverine, and Buckeye, and you're 0 for 2. You got to get the next 3 right if you want to win. Third headline. Video allegedly shows woman run over by delivery driver after argument. The woman was trying to take a picture of the license plate to report the driver when the driver accelerated and hit the woman. Is that driver a man, a woman, or a child?
I don't know many women delivery drivers, truck drivers, a child.
You're saying women can't do it? You're being sexist?
No, I'm not. Well, I mean, this is your game. You must have to be a little bit. You got to do a little bit of that. Thinking about it, you know what? I'm just thinking. Like, I haven't seen many women truck drivers. I know they're out there. Bless you, but so I'm going to go with a man here and lock it in.
All right. Well, maybe I'll give you one hint. This was this wasn't an 18-wheeler driver. It was a food delivery driver.
Oh, food delivery? Change it. No, I'm going to stay with man.
Okay. Dennis, potentially being a sexist, going man with the first one, man with the second one, man with the third one, and the answer is man. Dennis finally gets one right. Story says shortly after 6 p.m. Friday, police were called to the restaurant after the delivery driver kicked the restaurant's front door when he asked to wait outside for his order, according to somebody who said that he was trying to enforce social distancing guidelines. A suspect who is not named in the story was a man in a video that was shot. The victim can be seen being carried on top of the car's hood before she falls under the car's wheels and is run over. She suffered broken arms, legs, and a broken pelvis.
Give me a good story in there. You got a good story, like a nice story?
Well, here's the fourth headline. Florida individual, get that off the screen. Nobody wants to see that, and nobody agrees with that. Fourth headline, Florida individual mistakenly pumps gas onto the deck of a boat. Story says the individual pumped $60 worth of gas onto a deck of the boat when he mistook the fishing pole slot for the fuel nozzle. Was that person a man, a woman, or a child?
That's a pretty lame story by this one. Well, you know what? You want me to be sexist. You want me to throw some ageism here. You want it all. Yeah, I think it's I'm going to go woman here.
A woman.
Woman. I think that, when it comes to pumping gas, maybe.
So you think a woman is too stupid to figure out the difference between a fuel nozzle and a fishing pole slot?
That's what you said. It's Florida, so anything can happen. That's where I'm going, woman.
And the answer is man. It was a 31-year-old. He was pumping his gas into a boat at a 7-Eleven. So, Dennis, you're improving. You were 1 for 3, but still a capital L loser today on man, woman, or child.
Well, let's get to, you know what? I always have a chance next time around. I'd like to say that I could study up or do something, but I'm not sure I could do any of that. I just have to go with it.
It's all stereotypes, no studying.
All right, all stereotypes, great. So it's good that I'm not up on the stereotypes. Let's read some of the feedback from the live chat. This one coming from Jacob Carroll says, did you guys hear about the MLB 2020 regular season starting up on the 4th of July weekend? Yeah, well, Jacob, we have heard that. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, we've heard about them wanting to do that. We've heard about the plans to do something like that. And we've heard about the negotiations. But as far as it being set in stone, as far as them having a plan as rock solid, for instance, as what the NHL has, no, they don't have that because they're arguing about money. If they can agree to the terms of a deal by, let's say, the next week, because I know Jeff Passan of ESPN has been saying that we should expect a 2-week process. Last week was week 1. This is week 2. If by this time next week they have a deal in place, then I guess the plan is to start the second version of spring training around June 10th, and then they can start up Major League Baseball on the 4th of July. But they need to figure out this money issue first.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. It would be great. Independence Day, this Memorial weekend. We all miss it at certain times more, but this weekend for sure, I was missing baseball. And to think about it, having the possibility of coming back on the 4th of July, another holiday weekend, it would be great. But if they can't figure out the money, screw them. All right, here's a question from Sideshow Raj, who says, Chappie, who's the number 8 jersey in the back there?
Well,
over your right shoulder.
Yeah, that's the first Penn State jersey I ever purchased, and I got that the summer before I got to Penn State because I went up there for some reason. I think it was orientation or something like that, and I figured before I step foot on campus as a student, I've got to have myself a Penn State jersey. So that's circa 2003, and I learned later on that year, once the rosters came out, that nobody on the roster that year wore number 8. So there you go. There's the story behind that jersey.
Has there been any 8s that you can? I was just trying to think if I could think of one.
I know
off the top of my head.
I think your all-time favorite number 8 is Allen Robinson, who made that great catch against Michigan in that 4 overtime game at Beaver Stadium that I attended.
Is that the one where he's got the tattoo on his or dribbling? I think it's.
That's right.
He's got a tattoo, and he's got the Wolverine Plager in there, so that's a pretty cool tattoo.
I mean, all right, here's almost out the stadium for that catch.
Yeah, it was a great catch. Here's one that says, do you guys think Michigan can win the Big Ten East this year, or is the vision still Ohio State's to lose?
Yeah, it's still Ohio State's to lose. It's their conference to lose every single year. There are opportunities to upset them. Penn State upset them, and I would love to see that this year. One thing that really kills me about this coronavirus from a sports perspective is that Penn State has Ohio State at home this year. The last time Penn State beat them was 4 years ago in front of a whiteout crowd. I mean, they played close games, whether it's at home or on the road, but you've got yourself a distinct advantage if it's at Beaver Stadium, and to have no home field advantage, no whiteout, that really stings. And, in terms of Michigan being a contender, look, they don't have a quarterback. They got a couple of guys. We talked about this last week. They got a couple of starting quarterback contenders who couldn't beat out Shea Patterson, who went undrafted. Wisconsin's going to be tough in the West. I don't know what Minnesota's going to be like with them losing their offensive coordinator, but yeah, it's Ohio State's to lose.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Trevor Lawrence, we'd be talking about Justin Fields going number 1 next year. I mean, he's that good. Unfortunately, he is that good. And the way Ohio State has just been recruiting and the talent that they're bringing in, and what Ryan Day has shown that he can use the pro concepts, man, it's a machine, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. You know, the last 2 years ago, I was not picking Michigan. It was kind of in a similar situation that it was here. Like, no way I'm picking him. And then every single week, Ohio State's defense, looked terrible. Purdue's running up 50 points on them, and then Michigan was looking good. By the time it got to the last game, I thought, hey, Michigan should win this game. Ended up being a 4 or 5 point favorite in Columbus, and we all know they gave up 62 points in that game. And then all last season, if you were listening to me, I was saying, well, if it's going to be this year, or when is it going to be? Michigan had the returning quarterback. Michigan was at home. Urban Meyer was gone, and Ryan Day was coming in, and we didn't know anything about him. Michigan had an offensive line, their best one in 10, 15 years on paper, but I knew by week 2, looking at Fields and then looking at Michigan, that was not going to be the case, and it certainly wasn't. So, yeah, I'm in the position here. It would be a monumental upset. It would be great if it happened, but no. Do I think that they could beat Penn State this year? I think that they can match up. The game, this particular game, where they play usually seems like a big factor.
Yeah.
Michigan has a hard time going into the Happy Valley. This time around, it's in Ann Arbor. I like that. And
but there won't be any fans, potentially.
No, potentially there won't be.
And if that's the case, it favors the team that's just better on paper.
Ooh.
And I think that leans toward Penn State.
Yeah, I'm getting all choked up. Chap, you made a good point there about the fans. I forgot about it. It's like when the NBA playoffs is coming up. It's like, hey, the Lakers are the number 1 seed. Who cares? It's not like you got to play some pivotal game 5 on the road or anything. Yeah. Every game, it's like they're going to be in Walt Disney World. And, hey, game 1, game 2, doesn't matter. Game 7, none of that stuff matters about where you're at.
Yeah, and one last thing on Michigan against Ohio State. I know that there were a lot of people that were saying in 2018, oh, look at them. They've got the revenge tour. This team's a check mark. This team's a check mark. The Buckeyes, they're going to be a check mark. Look at how bad their defense is. People always forget that Michigan does not hate Ohio State nearly as much as Ohio State hates Michigan. They always get ready for that game. While a lot of folks were saying this was going to be the year that Michigan beat Ohio State, I was one of the few that picked Michigan to lose and get crushed. And I was right, unfortunately. I'm in the position where I say the Buckeyes are going to beat Michigan every year until proven otherwise.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been right 14 out of the last 15 years. That's a pretty good.
That's 15 out of 16 now.
Is it that much? Jeez.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
All right, well, chap, coming up on Thursday here. And we will always read your feedback through. So throughout the show, we'll do that in the 5th chapter. How attractive is the Pistons general manager's job? They're on the lookout for a GM. We will get to that. And don't forget, we got a big announcement coming here on the show on June 2nd. And if we look, that is a week from today.
How about that?
Yep, that's it for the 5th chapter. Thanks for joining us.
He represents the mitten by way of Penn State. When Chapman gets to talking sports, the people can't wait. He represents the mitten. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall, and his veins bleeding blue. They got respect around the state. When that light turns red, so don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for and sit back for the chapter. Brian Chapman. Dennis Fith when they open their mouths, they spit facts, but this ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast. Download it from the people podcast. saw capture,
fight your
look at
friend.
chapter.
The coach and that